Ladies and gentlemen, 45th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Thank you very much. It's great honor to be with you. And I'll say a few words as I understand it, and then you're going to be asking me some killer questions, and I'd love to answer them.
And Mr. President, just let me just say up front, Mr. President, you are here among friends. We are so deeply grateful and appreciative for all that you have done for this country and for the American-Israel relationship. As we have said many times before, Israel has never had a better friend in the White House than when you sitting in that Oval Office. So we thank you, Mr. President, very, very much.
I want to thank you also, and it's an honor to be with you. I've been with you many times and speak with everybody at the Republican Jewish Coalition. I want to thank Matt Brooks and Norm Coleman very, very much, and also the members and staff and supporters of the RJC for their tireless work advancing our values and for their incredible devotion to the Jewish community and to the Republican Party. As you know, our country is in grave trouble. It's in big problemville, I will tell you that. It's like we've never seen before, in my opinion, and trouble like we've never seen before. Joe Biden and the radical left Democrats have unleashed runaway inflation, imposed crushing tax hikes like it's been a long time. You know, we gave you the biggest tax cuts in the world, but they're trying to raise those taxes right through the roof, and also crippling regulations, locked down American energy, thrown open our borders, sparked a bloody wave of violent crime, and humiliated our country on the world stage like it has not been humiliated before. They're destroying our nation before our very eyes. They are destroying this nation. Breaking the radical Democrats' grip on Congress this month was vital. It was a great thing. But we've always known that 2022 was not the end, only the beginning of the battle to save our country. Now we have to take the fight straight to Joe Biden and his radical and incompetent administration, and it is grossly incompetent and very dangerous. We have to push back hard on every overreach and call out every single failure, of which there are so many. And then we have to take back the White House in 2024. That's imperative. With victory, we will end Joe Biden's inflation nightmare and rapidly rebuild the greatest economy in the history of the world. We will launch an all-out campaign to bring manufacturing out of China and back to America where it belongs. We will secure our southern border and stop illegal immigration once and for all. We will end Joe Biden's war on American energy. We'll become energy independent as we were just 2 years ago, and we will, in fact, become energy dominant. We'll restore America's strength and standing on the world stage. And finally, we will revitalize our alliance with our close friend and ally, the State of Israel. The alliance is not strong now, not even strong by a little bit. Under my administration, we fought for Israel and the Jewish community like no president in history. You both know that, and everybody in the room knows that. I was proud to be the greatest friend Israel has ever had in the White House. Working together with all of you, I kept my promises, officially recognized the eternal capital of Israel, and opened the American embassy in Jerusalem. I also recognized Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights, something that most people didn't even ask me to do because they thought it was impossible. 52 years they were working on that. I got it done in one day. I withdrew the United States from the corrupt, hypocritical UN Human Rights Council, which had allowed the most horrific human rights abusers to attack the United States and to attack Israel. I withdrew from the one-sided Iran nuclear deal and imposed the toughest ever sanctions on the Iranian regime. And I would never allow the State of Israel to be threatened with nuclear destruction like is happening right now. Working with our Israeli allies, we destroyed the ISIS territorial caliphate, 100% of it. I appointed a special envoy to combat the scourge of anti-Semitism worldwide. And here in the United States, I took strong action to stop anti-Semitism on college campuses, and we succeeded. And last but not least, with the historic Abraham Accords, we created peace in the Middle East, something that nobody thought would even be possible to say, let alone get it done. Tragically, Joe Biden has betrayed Israel and the Jewish community and squandered our amazing success. From the very beginning, he sold out Israel's security and began begging to re-enter the Iran nuclear deal. on even worse terms than before. It was a disaster before, but these would be even worse terms. He unilaterally lifted key sanctions. He appointed countless anti-Israeli extremists to government positions, and he disgracefully smeared Israel for defending itself, even as the country was under attack and violent attack, including missiles being shot all over the place. When we win in 2024, the era of backstabbing and betrayal will end, and the United States will stand with Israel once more. And just as it did in my administration 2 years ago, we were a great nation. And soon, with the help of the Republican Jewish Coalition and patriots all across this land, we will be a great nation again. Thank you both, and thank you, everybody, and God bless you, God bless Israel, and God bless America. Thank you.
Mr. President, you're getting a standing ovation from the room right now.
Thank you very much. It's great to hear. Great to hear. Great people. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So, Mr. President, I was actually going to do a litany of all that you did for Israel, all that you did. Anti-Semitism, the scourge of anti-Semitism on college campuses has just been a horrible thing. You took real firm steps. You basically, we're going to cut off aid to schools that promote or tolerate this. You laid out the things that you did for Israel in terms of moving the embassy, recognizing sovereignty of Golan, Abraham, I go on. So talk to me about the future. Can you reverse the damage that the Biden administration has done to peace in the Middle East? Can you reverse the damage that they're doing with trying to kowtow to the Iranians with the New Deal? Talk to me about the future. What is it? What else can we do to strengthen the bilateral relationship and to secure a more safer and prosperous Middle East?
Well, the relationship right now with the United States is a very bad one. They don't even listen to your leaders. As you know, the United States will not stand for what Israel represents and will not fight for what Israel represents. In Congress right now, you have a very strong coalition of anti-Israel people, and it's taken hold. And I think it's more powerful than the Israeli coalition. I cannot believe when I look at what's going on 10, 15 years ago. I would say the strongest, most powerful voice, lobbyists, if you want to call them, but voice, was the voice of Israel in Congress. And now it's almost many congressmen have just gone away, and they've gone to the other side, and I don't understand it. And it's very dangerous, very bad. But one of the things you have to do is you have to be careful of what they're doing with Iran, because that will maybe be the end of Israel. That could happen. It could happen very quickly. We're living in a very fragile world. And that particular part of the world in particular is very fragile. And we just can't let that deal happen. That deal is a disaster. That's destroy Israel, kill Israel, end Israel. That's their chant. And we can't let that happen. So the future in certain ways is going back a little bit to the past. I ended that deal. That deal was so bad and so dangerous for Israel and for the United States to a lesser degree, but so dangerous for Israel, because I think they would end Israel. And you know what I mean by end. And that's not good. You can't let it happen. So we have to stay strong, and we have to fight. And frankly, you better hope that a certain person wins the election in 2024.
Mr. President, I wanted to pivot a little bit to current events, as in happening in real time. I don't know if you've been following. Twitter is blowing up today. Elon Musk posted a poll that had over 13 million respondents so far, asking whether or not you should be reinstated on Twitter. My question to you is, what do you think about Elon Musk buying Twitter? And if you are reinstated, will we see you back on Twitter again?
Well, I like that he bought it. I've always liked him. I got along with him very well during my days as president, and I got to know him pretty well. But I do like him. I've always really, he's a character, and I tend to like characters, but he's smart. He did put up a poll, and I hear it's very overwhelming, very strong. But I have something called Trump. If you look, it's Trump-owned, but it's It's really fantastic. Truth Social. And Truth Social is through the roof. It's doing phenomenally well. The press hates to talk about it, but it's doing phenomenally well. I think engagement is much better than it is with Twitter. And it's taking care of voices that really want to be taken care of, and really smart voices, brilliant voices, voices that in many cases are both sides. But I can tell you there's a lot of voice for Israel, a lot of power for Israel in Truth Social. So Truth Social has been very, very powerful, very, very strong. And I'll be staying there. But I hear we're getting a big vote to also go back on Twitter. I don't see it because I don't see any reason for it. They have a lot of problems at Twitter. You see what's going on. It may make it, it may not make it, but the problems are incredible. The engagements are negative, and you have a lot of bots and you have a lot of fake accounts, which I think they should get on. But Truth Social has taken the place for a lot of people, and I don't see them going back onto Twitter.
So I want to get back to the Abraham Accords because they were just such an incredible accomplishment. If you think about it, for 75 years, Israel would have 2 treaties, and then you get 4 in like 2 months. You put it all together. But again, 4. And you know, there had been discussion that there are others kind of lined up and getting ready to. What's your vision of extending the Abraham Accords? What's it going to take to make that happen? What can you do to help make that happen if you're in the right position?
Well, we had a very disgraceful election. We got many millions of votes more than we had in 2016, as you all know, and the result was a disgrace, in my opinion, an absolute sham and a disgrace. But had the result, or the outcome, I guess you'd have to say, because I think the result really was incredible. We did much better than we did in 2016. In 2020, we did much, much better than we did in 2016. I was told that if we could get the same number of votes that we got in 2016, there was no way we could lose. And we got tens of millions of votes more. We got so many more. But that's the way it is. Had that been a good election, then we would have had many more countries than the 4. We had the 4, and they're great ones, and they're leaders too, as you know. And we have now a situation where nothing's happened with it. You know, the Abraham Accords are there. They're ready, willing, and able. A lot of countries want to join, but the Biden administration doesn't seem to have its act together, and they're unable to get more of them to join. We would have had, I think, by this time, 10, 12, 14, we would have had maybe all of them. That includes Saudi Arabia. We would have had all of them, I think, within a short time after the election, and they haven't signed any of them. We could have truly had peace in the Middle East, but that's a good road for peace. As you know, the Palestinians were fighting it, and we went around the Palestinians, and we even stopped payment with the Palestinians because they were making it very difficult, and they were saying horrible things about Israel, about the United States, probably about me. And I ended up saying, look, we're going to forget it. We're going to do this different than we've ever done it before. The Palestinians, if they want to come in, they have to come in last. But we, as you know, got 4 great countries, and we would have had, I think, almost all of them signed. And ultimately, probably the Palestinians would have come in at the end. But nobody's ever done that before. I actually stopped payment of $750 million a year that goes to the Palestinians, and they started behaving very nicely, I will tell you.
Do we have it? What's your time frame, Mr. President? Do we have time for a couple more questions? Or...
Sure, you go ahead.
Okay.
You go ahead. I have a lot of friends in your audience, I will tell you that.
Well, you do have a lot of friends. Which is one of the questions I have, because there's a lot of friends who are on our board, David Friedman, Jason Greenblatt. Obviously, we have a great relationship with Jared. Will they be involved in the campaign, and what role do you see them potentially having in a future second Trump administration?
Well, I think so. I think that we will have them. I think we'll have a lot of new people. Some people want to go on with their life. You know, it's been a vicious group of people outside shooting at us, and every once in a while, people get tired. They want to go back to a normal life, and I understand that very much. But the 3 people you named did a tremendous job. But regardless of who it is, there'll be people that have that policy. There'll be people that have that whole view of Israel and of the Middle East and of the Abraham Accords. Everything will be very much as it was. 2 years ago, Israel was never in better shape with the United States, was never in better shape in many ways with the world. You saw what was happening with the Abraham Accords, where countries that were unthinkable were signing up and really becoming partners with Israel. Nobody ever thought this was possible. And those were 4 tough countries. And our first one, it's a warrior headed by a great, great warrior and highly respected all over the world, but certainly respected very much in the Middle East. And we got great countries, and the rest were just falling in place. I mean, they literally were falling in place. We were going to get them all signed up, every one of them, I think, right after the election. But the election was rigged, and it's too bad it was, and Israel lost a lot. But we're going to be doing it again, and I think we'll bring it back to a position of great strength, and you're going to have peace in the Middle East. You were ready to have very solid peace in the Middle East. A shame what's happened. The Middle East has just been blown up all over the place. It's so bad for everybody. But you're going to have peace, and you're going to have strength around Israel, and you're going to have protection of Israel. Israel is a great, really, it's just a great miracle if you look at it. It's been a miracle what took place with Israel. Who would have ever thought it would have happened? If you go back years ago, nobody would have thought that was even possible. But we really kept the miracle alive, because you were being hit at every single outpost. And, when I think it's an interesting story, but every president said Jerusalem will be the capital. We're going to move the embassy to Jerusalem. I actually got the embassy built, which, by the way, is no small thing. And we got it built very fast. And you have a gorgeous embassy now with all Jerusalem stone, okay? Very expensive outside of Jerusalem. In Jerusalem, it wasn't so bad. But I got it built. But I will tell you, the pressure put on me, and I understand the other presidents now. I didn't understand why they would campaign on it and then never got it done. Many previous presidents to me, I got it done immediately. But you heard the story. They would call and they'd want to talk to me, and they'd tell me what it was about prior to my getting on the phone. I said, I'll call you back next week. And then I made the announcement, because you had tremendous pressure put on the President of the United States before me and with me. But I figured the best thing I can do is just not take the call, and then I call back next week. I had announced it. It was done. Okay, so what do you have? What's up? What's happening? Well, we wanted to talk to you about Israel, but it's a little late because you already announced it. So I said, yep, you're right. It's late. So I got it done. No other president got it done. Nobody came close. Golan Heights also. But the most important thing I did was the Iran nuclear deal. You can say, a lot of people say Jerusalem. Some people say Golan Heights. Sovereignty over the Golan Heights. But the most important thing I did for Israel was a termination of that horror show. I think it was a death certificate, the horror show of the Iran nuclear deal. I think that's even more important than what we did with respect to Jerusalem being the capital.
So, Mr. President, if I can, I kind of like to get into your thought process, because I find it fascinating. I served in the Senate. I was there, and there's been discussion about moving the embassy. It didn't happen. You get elected, everyone is telling you just about, except for a few people around you, that the Middle East is going to be up in flames if you move the embassy. With the Iran deal, you had folks saying that this is, you can't change it, and it's not a good. In your mind, did you kind of look ahead and say, I don't think these bad things are going to happen? Or was it simply something that your gut said, I got to do the right thing, and if I do the right thing, let the chips fall where they may? What were you thinking as you had all this resistance against you, but you chose to go another path?
Well, first of all, you did serve in the Senate, and you served brilliantly in the Senate, and then you got screwed in the election, I have to tell you. You had a rigged election like few people have had. So I'll say that loud and clear. You don't have to say it, because they'll say you're something. They'll start calling you names, but I don't mind being called names. What happened to you was a disgrace, and so bad for our country, because you did a great job. No, I did the right thing. I felt I had to do it. I didn't feel that there would be bloodshed, of which there was none. There was literally none. But a lot of people said when they were trying to talk me out of it, everybody wanted to talk me out of it, including people in the administration. They said there'll be bloodshed all over the Middle East, all over the world, and there was none after I did it. In fact, 2, 3, 4 days later, I'd call people and say, what's going on? Anything happening? Every day I'd call to find out anything happening in the Middle East. We did it. I was proud that I did it. We got it built, and it was supposed to cost $2 billion. We did it for $500,000, which is a slight difference, I would say. And the only difference is the building is nicer than the one I saw that was planned. It would have never gotten built, by the way. Probably would have never gotten built. You know, we not only got it done, but we got the embassy built. And it's really a beautiful embassy and the best location. And you know that whole story. I'm sure you've heard it before, but we got it built and we got it. We have the best location, I think, probably in Jerusalem for that. Setbacks, everything. So I just will tell you, it's such an honor to have done it. And I didn't do it for the praise. I didn't do it for any reason other than I thought it was right. I didn't think there'd be a problem. But the problem was what they used to try and convince presidents not to do it. And I can see the other presidents not doing it. They campaigned on it, but you got to office and it was going to be the worst thing that you could ever do. It's going to be a disaster all over the world. And I held my breath and I did it, and it was not a disaster. And it's been a great achievement for us and a great thing for Israel. And we're very happy about it.
So, Mr. President, I just one more question. You really accomplished a transformation of the Republican Party. In the Republican Party, certainly a business, big business, you know, a country called Republicans. I was having a conversation with a Democrat governor. He was talking about some county in Michigan that used to be Republican, and it's like the highest income county, and now it's Democrat. And my comment to him is you know, you're now the party of the elite. The coastal elites, the urban centers, and that's it. And the rest of the country has been transformed. And, Mr. President, you kind of led the way with that. Just a quick story, I have a cabin in northern Minnesota. It's a rural area. Every one of the working men and women, the folks that put in the docks, the electricians, the craftsmen, the retail, that's Trump territory. That's red territory. In fact, my wife and I at one point saw a Hillary sign in the distance. And we thought, wow, I can't believe there's a Hillary sign in this county. And we drove up to it, and it said, imprison Hillary. That was the only Hillarys. True story. True story, Mr. President. But my question for you is a challenge to the future. So we have the middle of the country, the heartland is red. The Democrats control the coastal elites, you know, some of the urban centers. We're having a battle, though, in the suburbs. And we're taking some shots there. We're taking some hits. How do you pull the Republican Party together, keep that coalition that you created, at the same time kind of get back some of what we need in some of those suburban areas in order for us to be victorious both in the Senate and the House and in the presidency?
Well, you know, in the midterms, as you probably heard, I was 222 wins and 16 losses. The press doesn't want to mention that. And the Republican Party got 5 million more votes than the Democrats. Nobody ever talks about that. And we did actually very well, and we took over the House. It would have been nice to do more, but there was a specific reason why it was going to be tough. You know what that reason was. It was a tough issue, and it energized the other side, and people came out on the other side for a specific purpose, and it was unfortunate because in many ways it was such a great achievement, but there was a specific issue that made it more difficult, but it was the right thing. It was very much like what we talked about with respect to Jerusalem. It was the right thing to do, and you do the right thing. But I will say this, that the Republican Party is a much bigger, more powerful party than it was before I got there. It has much more influence, as an example, the House, but we have a lot of things coming up. We have in 2 years, great numbers for the Senate. We have, I think, unbelievable numbers for the White House. And I think the House will do very well. It's stages. We did a good job. We did a good job 2 years ago. You know, we were supposed to lose 36 seats, and we ended up winning 16. I made town hall calls. You call them town hall calls to large numbers of people, both for Senate races and for House races, and we did well last time. And this was, you know, far more than inching up. But now we have the House, and I think very soon, and next one we'll have the Senate, we'll have the House, and we're going to have the White House, so we'll be able to do some tremendous things, really tremendous things. But I just want to say it's an honor to have worked with so many friends who love Israel. They love Israel like nothing else, frankly. And Sheldon Adelson was in my office a lot. He loved that. He loved, with his incredible wife, by the way, Miriam, was in it. They were in the office so much, and what he talked about was Israel. That's all he wanted to talk about. He loves the United States, but he loved Israel, and he saw Israel under attack. And I think he probably had a great influence on me from the standpoint of explaining things and explaining how important it was. But I knew that before I spoke to Sheldon and Miriam, and I've always had it in my blood somehow. I grew up in Brooklyn and Queens, and I got along so well with the Jewish community. My father was a builder in Brooklyn and Queens primarily, almost, I mean, he loved to build, and his friends were almost exclusively Jewish. And I just grew up with a great fondness and a great feeling for Jewish people and for Israel. And I hope people in the United States share that, because some people in the United States, Jewish people, don't appreciate Israel the way they should. And I'll tell you who does appreciate Israel very much are the evangelicals, because the evangelicals are on your side. The evangelical Christians, they really are on your side. But I appreciate Israel, and it's an honor to have, I think, done far more for Israel than any other president. I don't think any other president even comes close. And that's a great honor for me. And I just want to thank you for your time. And this has been terrific to talk to both of you and to everybody else that's listening. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, on behalf of the assembled here and all of our members across the country, thank you for all that you have done. Thank you for being with us and standing with us, and for your leadership. And we are grateful for everything. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 45th President of the United States.